Welcome to the V2V Podcast. My name is Parrish. I am a nonviolent communication trainer, and this is part of the NVC training series, which I promised to create when we received 1,000 likes on the Nonviolent Communication Training Facebook page, which we did. Congratulations to everybody. So this first part of the series is a little history, what NVC is and where it came from. So nonviolent communication, NVC, sometimes referred to as compassionate communication, is an approach to communicating designed to help people connect more compassionately with themselves and others. Nonviolent communication can transform interactions as it enables people to become more aware of their feelings, needs, and desires, as well as those of others in a given situation. This form of communication can promote greater self-awareness and personal growth, to foster deeper interpersonal relationships, and to effectively settle conflicts and disputes at all levels of society. Now, this developed in the 1960s by Marshall Rosenberg, and it's based on several core assumptions. First, Rosenberg proposed that humans are innately compassionate. The NVC model emerged from his ongoing attempt to understand the factors that influence this innate compassionate nature, and his realization that language is one of the most crucial. According to Rosenberg, it is our nature to behave compassionately, but many of us have learned how to speak and act in ways that are harmful to others. We learn to judge, withdraw, defend, and attack, all of which alienates us from others and from our natural state of compassion. NVC was designed to help us overcome these negative tendencies so that we can connect with others on a deeper personal level. Rosenberg also believed that all humans share certain universal needs. When these needs are satisfied, we experience pleasant emotions such as happiness and contentment. When they are not, we develop negative feelings such as anger and disappointment. Our feelings therefore indicate whether our needs are being met. That's very important. Rosenberg's model of nonviolent communication was influenced by the principles of humanistic psychology as well as the Gandhian principle of nonviolence. Now, what are the goals of nonviolent communication? The focus of nonviolent communication is to help people rethink and restructure the way in which they express themselves and listen to others. As humans, we learn to respond to certain situations in an automatic manner. When asked, "How are you?" for example, the automatic response might be, "I'm fine," although this might be far from the truth. The end goal of NVC is to develop a mutually satisfying exchange, one in which the needs of all parties involved are met through compassionate giving. The principles of NVC serve a dual purpose. They allow people to become more aware of what they are perceiving, feeling, and wanting in a given moment, while also helping them become more attuned and empathetic to the needs, emotions, and circumstances of others. As a result, people are able to replace their habitual reactions with more conscious and honest responses and interact with others in a more respectful and empathetic manner. So what's the process of nonviolent communication? The process of NVC involves 4 key components. 1, observations. 2, feelings. 3, needs. And 4, requests. So first, individuals observe what is happening in a given situation without any form of judgment. Next, they express how these observations make them feel and what needs, values, or desires are related to these feelings. And don't worry, we'll get more into the nuts and bolts of what I'm talking about in further episodes. But finally, they make clear specific requests based on what they need to enrich their lives instead of demanding these from others. For example, a wife whose husband shouted at her at a social function might express these 4 components by saying, when you shout at me in public, observation, I feel humiliated, feeling, because I value respect, especially in the presence of others, need. When we have a disagreement in public, would you be willing to wait until we can discuss the matter in private? That's the request. Since communication is a two-way street, the process would not be complete unless both people are willing to accept the same 4 pieces of information from each other. That is, they must discern what others are observing, feeling, and needing without evaluating, and they must be open to receiving the requests. Now, the 4 components of NVC need not be expressed in the same order each time. This process allows for some creativity so that the verbal exchange doesn't become mechanical and formulaic. So what are some nonviolent communication techniques and exercises? Well, there's no one set of tools available for teaching nonviolent communication. However, some techniques and exercises are common. For example, in the initial stage of training, a list of judgments, needs, and feelings may be given to participants so they can learn to distinguish between them and respond more accurately. I will post a list of judgment, needs, and feelings in the show notes so that you can use them for reference. Now, participants may be asked to read, relate, or role play a conflict situation, after which they practice identifying the unmet needs of all persons involved. Their language reframing exercises can be employed to foster more honest expression of feelings and needs. Among other things, participants may be taught to watch for sweeping judgments such as "you always" or "you never," and replace these with more specific, concrete observations. We are taught to own our feelings. For example, "I feel," instead of blaming others for them, "you make me feel." And focus less on what we are, labels and diagnoses such as nerd and abnormal and weird, and more on how we actually are. We want to avoid language that is suppressive in the matter of choice, such as must, should, and things like have to. So I'll conclude this first presentation of NVC by saying that while the principles of nonviolent communication are simple in theory, it has often been criticized for the significant investment of time and effort required to sit and learn and utilize the 4 key components. This concern is in light of the fact that it might take several rounds of nonviolent communication for a conflict or dispute to be resolved. Now, nonviolent communication also requires that we clearly and honestly express our feelings. However, as humans, we do not always have a clear understanding of our complex emotions. Furthermore, a given observation may trigger multiple conflicting emotions, making it difficult to express what we are feeling and needing in that moment. And finally, the success of NVC is also dependent on an individual's ability to display empathy. I've been doing this for 16 years. I find it extremely beneficial in my own life and in the lives of others that I share this with and teach how to communicate in this fashion. It's very rewarding and life-affirming, and I would suggest that you give the video a like, hit that subscribe button, and we will continue on with the nonviolent communication training videos. The next one will get more in depth into the specific techniques and go through each point more methodically. This has just been kind of an introduction to get you more familiar with what it is that we're actually talking about. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Marcus Parrish. Have a great day.